Hi Aquarius, welcome to your mid-April 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Serena here. How's everybody doing? Now that we are, almost to the middle of April, and working on May. Wow. Time really flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Well, I'm going to pick out this card because it jumped out at me, but I'm going to pick another one too. Wow. Lots of fire. Lots of fire. One of these cards is associated with Leo, and that's your opposite sign. Okay. So, the heart of the matter is the Four of Wands. This is a card of domestic bliss. Maybe a new home, something to do with a new home. Wanting a new home, trying to close on a new home, and maybe world events have kept that from fully, happening. And, it's interesting because I was saying, I was in my mind, what is the fourth house for Aquarius? Knowing that that's the house of real estate. And it is Taurus. So there is going to be a new moon in Taurus, although that's going to be in the second half of the month. And I'm going to be doing readings for the end of April pretty soon. But that could still be in the works. And in the past position, and it can be a card of marriage too. Excuse me. In the past position, we have the Seven of Cups, which is a card of confusion, a card of wishful thinking in some cases. So, if this is something to do with a current marriage or the equivalent type of relationship, by the way, Seven of Cups could be addiction, like alcoholism, stuff like that. There may be something going on domestically that has kind of interfered with this domestic bliss that maybe at one time that you experienced. If this has to do with selling property or even bidding for property, there may be some deception going on, a lot of offers. But you have to, like, if it's for your property, you have to discern. You have to practice discernment because some of the offers may not be what they seem. They may be too good to be true. Or if you're making a bid on a house, make sure that you have somebody check it out beforehand because they may discover some kind of weaknesses that are being hidden. Because the person wants you to just buy it sight unseen, or if you're not an expert in house inspection, you might not even notice these things. The higher message is the Ten of Wands, and this is a card of somebody who, see how they're bent over, they're working very hard. And as a spiritual message, it's really about the amount of energy that you put into something, and is it going to pay off? So in other words, if you're very impatient to move and or to buy your first home or something like that, and you feel like you don't want to spend the time to really look at what's happening, or to investigate, what can happen is that you might find out that you have to spend all this money for a roof that was really lacked structural integrity or something like that, and because you weren't an expert in that, you didn't know. So it's like respecting your work and the energy that you put into it when you make a decision of this magnitude, if you're buying a house, for instance. If this is a relationship, look at how much you take on. How much responsibility are you taking on? If this is a perfect illustration, if you're dealing with somebody who has an addiction, you may be a codependent. It's funny saying that about Aquarius, because Aquarius tends to be independent, not a codependent. But, especially if you have Venus in Pisces, for instance, which is a sign adjacent to you, you may have like a lot of independence, but the one area where there's a little bit of, I don't want to say weakness, but vulnerability is in the area of your love life, where you tend to maybe even be attracted to people that need caring for. So it even at the beginning, it starts out as a relationship of unequals, where you're kind of caring for them, and they're not caring for themselves. They're not being, responsible, or they have major issues in their life, and you want to help. You want to see the good in them, and that's beautiful. But it's not something that a personal relationship is well suited for, because what will more likely happen is that they will drag you down with them into their chaos. So as a friend, as somebody who, as a humanitarian that you are, that's a different story. But when it gets like a really, very close relationship, that's when it can get very problematic. Also, if you're thinking about buying a house, how much energy, work do you have to do to afford it? This may be a situation where if you're selling a house, the 10 of Wands can be like, you couldn't afford it anymore, and that this is a good thing, that this is going to free you from that burden. Because sometimes people are working another job, or they're working a job many hours, and that is sucking away at their energy, and they don't have time to do anything else. When you think about that, that's pretty foolish, because a person is sacrificing everything for a house that they really only sleep in. That's the only time that they really get to enjoy it, because they're working so many hours. So I'm especially speaking to Americans, because I was looking at the statistics, and the Europeans have their heads screwed on so much straighter than we Americans do, because they have more balance in life. And I think the average work week in France is 34 or 35 hours, and that's average. So of course there's going to be less. Just like in America, there's going to be more people than, there are going to be people working 60 hours a week. Excuse me. What crosses you is the Knight of Swords. So this is a card, I think, of having your own mind, speaking your own mind. You're swords. You're about communication. And Aquarians are usually very good about being able to, tell it like it is. Although I will say that this is a combination of fire and air. So maybe this is the person that you're dealing with, and this is in the reverse position. So it's saying this person isn't good for you. If this is your partner, what have you. This could also be a wayward lawyer or like a real estate agent who is selling you something that is not structurally sound, so be careful about these contracts and things like that. Make sure that you really, really check them out, because you might be dealing with somebody who's not on the up and up. But if this is the other person, if this is a personal relationship, this person has a lot of chaos in their life, and you may feel like you have to clean it up for them, and that's not going to stop them from creating more chaos. That's the important thing to note, is that, going around trying to save people from themselves doesn't stop them from self-destructing. It just may delay the process a little bit longer. But ultimately, people are going to do what they're going to do. And perhaps like the Ten of Wands, you've taken on a burden that doesn't belong to you. And, you know, usually I would trace it back to childhood and say, if you, let's say somebody has an addiction that you care about deeply. If you might be attracted to that person because one or both of your parents were addicts, alcoholics. And you may, on a very, very subtle level, feel that it's your fault that they were alcoholics. And then you're trying to save somebody else as an adult to kind of atone for your so-called sins. You may have even had a parent who told you, you're the reason I drink. So it's important not to go through life trying to atone for imaginary sins. You know, needless to say. Okay, what's coming in, or the advice? I think this is kind of advice. This is the card that jumped out here. Nine of Wands. This is a card of boundaries. And also, if the Nine of Swords person, if you've recently left that relationship, be aware that this person could easily come back into the picture. And these kinds of people tend to do that. Why do they do that? Because, first of all, they can. If the other party is like, wow, they came back, they like me, they really, really like me. And that's what the Knight of Swords does, comes in and out of your life. And because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, you may almost enjoy that kind of unpredictable personality type. But it's not really conducive for a relationship. So you have to be, I don't like to say the term on guard, but you have to be aware that this person, if you have left that relationship, may come back. If you are negotiating a home, you have to have some sort of boundaries. Like, what is it, you know, for instance, price. What you're willing to spend, and then be able to get that person to go down, because they may think that they can sell something to you at a jacked up rate because you're so eager. I also picked the Six of Wands, very positive card about victory, accolades. So it's certainly positive for home sales. It's positive for, I think, you know, getting so many wands. I mean, this could be a Leo person that is coming into your life, perhaps. But in terms of you and your sense of self, this could be having more backbone, more self-confidence, and greater autonomy. And the outcome, the Eight of Cups, walking away with, from something that doesn't fulfill you. And so if you're in a marriage or that kind of committed relationship, you may have really believed in this idea of family and, marriage and what the symbolism suggests. But you realize that it's not enough. That you have to that there has to be something mutual. And maybe you've been doing all the heavy lifting, like the Ten of Wands. And it's time to seek out something that's more meaningful for you. This could be walking away from, even like with the real estate angle, you may just sell something so that you can go on a spiritual quest, that you're kind of like downsizing, that you don't need as much, or letting go of the material because you're just really getting involved in a spiritual pursuit. So, very interesting, Aquarius. I hope that this resonated with you. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below this video. Take care. Bye.